Okay, so I think we can call it part two of the
Mhm.
discussion with our two young friends here. So welcome back, Alia and Akshar.
Thank
We
you.
had
Hello.
left
Thank you.
the last discussion on the grief of losing a pet, and since both of you are recent, Akshar more than you, Alia, but then both of you are recent entrants into college life. Uh, my answer to you is, or my question to you, which you have to answer in a yes or no, is it better than home?
No, No,
No?
no.
Should
In most
more
aspects,
should more 12th graders know this about being in college?
like it's yes. uh, yes.
Yeah. Why do you think so? I mean, if you were a 12th grader and if I asked you, what are you looking forward to? Most people are looking forward to leaving home and going to college.
Hmm. I personally, if I can be frank, I genuinely feel that college is highly romanticized, and the dharmification of college in all of these, like, oh, it's all fun, and you're playing the entire day, or you're out the entire day, you're just dressing up. I think all of that is a very minuscule part of college. A lot of part of college is just seeing that there's so much competition out there. The the way that you're taught in college is different. The way that you learn in college is different. The way you prepare for exams is different. I think not a lot of attention is paid to that, but there's more attention paid to the whims and fancies. Oh, this is going to be the, like, I think post college after 5 o'clock, what happens is generally given more importance or more screen time than what actually happens in college. So you tend to romanticize this idea, and when your real life and what you see on online or on the media portrayal, then when it's not sitting congruent, then you feel like maybe my college is not fun, or maybe my life is not interesting enough.
What is
Like
dharmification of college?
the dharmification, like how they shown the picture, like overall picture in student of the year, and or kuch hota hai, and all of those college it's all based things. Fun. No one is studying there, yeah. So you have
Yeah,
to
where are
hide
those
lots of fun.
colleges? Like I have never seen those colleges which I see on screen in real life.
True, they're not there. I've never worn a mini skirt to college at 8 a.m. And partly
True.
because I live in Delhi. But yeah, I think that's just that the media portrayal of college is very different from what it college actually is.
Right. So there's this book called Fear of Life
Mm-hmm.
uh, by this author called Alexander Lovin. I think that's his name. So this guy says that there are, when you break up for the first time in life, like you have your first relationship, maybe when you're 14-year-old, maybe you're 18 years old. When you break up for the first time, it's actually your third breakup. And that is where it is most devastating because three strikes on anything makes you just, dissociate from that feeling. So that is why. And how it is the third time. The first breakup is when you are separated from your mother from the womb, right? Birth of a child is the first separation. That's the first heartbreak.
Mm.
And that people don't realize, but studies have shown that that is the first heartbreak. The child actually is heartbroken because of, the pain of losing the womb of the mother and all the care and warmth that it was providing. The second heartbreak is when you leave the house, right?
Very true.
When
I agree.
you stop a life of having been a child at home, you start a life of being an adult into college, and then there's the third heartbreak. That's your first real love wala heartbreak. That is why it is so heartbreaking, so to say. So जो आपको
Very
दूसरा
true.
heartbreak है, you tell me more about it. What is the feeling? How is it a heartbreak? Because most people don't realize it. It hits them very hard afterwards, like after 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Was very similar for me because after I think 2, 3 months in the beginning it's nice, but then you start to miss on small things, the comfort of home, the security, like security about being loved, and security about the comfort, security about
Like you have no work to do. It hits you after a certain time. But it is also important to stay outside your home to explore new things and realize what is happening.
Mm.
But
And
I
when,
completely,
yeah.
like for me, it was actually like a heartbreak because I went to college in 2022, which was right after 2 years of COVID. I spent my high school during COVID. And for me, it was actually like a heartbreak or a separation because I think you know, and even Chandu knows, even Akshar knows how connected I am to my mother. Like my mother and I, we have the same routine. We get up at the same time. We used to have our breakfast together. Then we used to study for my exams, CUET, and she used to do her own studies sitting next to me. And then we would have lunch together. We would take our nap together. In the evening, we would walk together, come back, study together, spend like have dinner, like spend post dinner time together, then sleep. And it was like a complete cycle. And for me, to get away from that cycle, I think it was very difficult because not being able to update her every minute or not being able to share, like I think she had the access to my constant stream of thoughts. Whatever I just had, I would just tell her. I would just verbalize every opinion, every thought that I had. I think not having that anymore was very difficult, and I think it was very difficult for her also, because for me, I obviously there was this subtraction of my home and my comfort, but then there was so many additions and new additions in my life, like college and hostel and all of that. But for her, I was the subtraction from her life. Like her life was exactly the same except for the fact that I was
Mm.
not there. So I think she could feel that void more than I could. But yeah.
So the, getting into college, that phase of, end of 12th grade and getting into college, it's not just the loss of home. You're also experiencing a lot of, again, the word I literally love, micro griefs along the way, right? आपके boards हैं, you're thinking about boards, and you might score high or less somewhere in pre-board, you're not doing well in your half yearly, something like that. Then you're dealing with competitive exams, right? वहां पे भी you're dealing
Mhm.
with कि what percentile, and then once you get the percentile and percentage, then which college, you know. And if you're going into engineering, as Akshar has seen, you have this huge pressure of things like IIT, JEE, coming your way. So all of those griefs are also happening. And then you have this, bada wala grief, heartbreak, right bang in the middle of your head where you have to leave home. What goes on in the mind of a youth, 17, 18 years of age? I don't remember much of it because it's been a while for me. It's been more than 10 years I've gotten out of college, uh, out of engineering. But what I'll tell you what I felt, and then you tell me what the kid today feels, right? Because it's a very different world right now. I felt overjoyed when I was leaving home, very frankly. I was because I had so many hobbies. And for the 2 years, 11, 10, 12, I was just focusing on engineering and IIT and AIEEE that used to be at that time. And I got that break as soon as I went into NIT Surathkal, and then I just, blasted out into all my hobbies and like, let me just explore the world as it comes to me. And I did not realize, at least for a good 1.5 years, that I missed home. That's what happened to me. So I don't know how it is today. Like, what is the kid today feeling?
But when you went to college, how would you explain the movement, the shift from being a school student to a college student? Like how was that for you?
I think it was difficult at first because, as Akshar said, that, conditioning of home, the comforts of home, the unconditional love that you get from parents, all of that is a loss that you feel. But I think it's an offset between uh, the usual status quo and the excitement that is provided by this new shiny life that college provides, you know. And this shine, it sometimes outshines erroneously what you're missing from home. So you're washing your
Hmm.
clothes. Sometimes you're wearing dirty clothes because you have not washed them, right? You're getting up late because there is nobody to wake you up. You're eating mess food that is not up to the mark, but you're still eating it. you manage all of that because the shiny object, is still shiny. But that shine
Hmm.
goes away after a while, and that's when I personally, it took me, maybe I was dumber than most of you, but then I realized it quite late that, oh, I'm missing home now.
Hmm.
And
So what,
how often did you come back? I think both of us, we are back. I think almost like I come back every once in 2 months or once in a month, or if there's an occasion or a birthday or an anniversary, or if I just get like a long weekend, I come back. But how often did you come back? I also think that plays a role.
yeah, I think for me it was difficult because I was situated farther from a regular airport also, and there was very less connectivity to Bhopal, which is where my parents lived. So for me, it was once in a semester, or maximum
Okay.
twice in a semester. So that's like once in 6 months, or if I'm lucky, once in 3 months.
Okay.
So that is my question to you. Like, what does the kid today feels when leaving home for college? Is it still as exciting as it was 10, 11 years back?
Like you have that excitement, that new friends, new people, new place. You can do more stuff. Like more opportunities are there. So that excitement is always there. What I feel while going.
I think that excitement of, having your own independence and not being answerable to anyone, just eating whatever you want and staying up till late, or just in general, just doing whatever you want, wearing whatever you want. Like especially for I think a lot of girls like me, it's there like whenever I would get censored, or whenever I would well, my parents would be like, don't wear this, don't wear that. I would think back of my mind, once I go to college, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and I'll stay up till late, or I will come back whenever I want, and all of that is there. I feel like a lot of it is not about what actually happens. A lot of it is also what you think is going to happen. You think
Hmm.
that you're
Yeah.
just going to be a new person and you will have all these, like, you'll completely change your entire life. But I don't think that's how it works. Like, I used to think that I would stay up till 2, 3, but I'm someone I will naturally fall asleep around like 12 or max to max 1, because that's just how I was
Hmm.
raised. And I used to think that I would just watch TV the entire day and just not go to college and get up late. But I think that college just makes you a different person.
Hmm.
I think when you're like initially, you don't realize you're responsible for everything now. Like if I don't choose to wash my clothes today, my clothes will still be dirty, but that's not how it is at home. Or if I
Hmm.
don't get up at a certain time, I'll not get breakfast. Like you don't think like that at home. You're like, घर ही तो है, मिल जाएगा. You
Hmm.
just you have all of this, I don't know. You just have so much assurance that things will happen. Like
Hmm.
now in college, you have to make them happen. Like I think as someone I've never done dishes my entire life. Before college, I never did my dishes. I didn't know how to clean. I didn't know how to use a washing machine. I've never seen a washing machine, and like my house never had one. And so it was just a very new experience for me. And I think all of that was
Hmm.
fun. And I thought I would enjoy the going out part or the dressing up part more, but I think I now also I really enjoy cooking my own food, washing my clothes, washing my dishes.
Hmm. Like that is part of a journey, part of the journey. Like you enjoy the new freedom, that no curfew. You enjoy
Hmm.
that freedom, but like with it, you have to manage your all the things.
Do you think that since the loss of home is some form of grief is always a gateway, and maybe as a psychologist in making, you can give me your perspective earlier. Is
Hmm.
grief always or mostly a pathway into a responsible or a person being more responsible or responsibility coming your way?
I think with grief also comes a lot of realizations. So, like how both of us had the realization that unless and until you choose to make a certain decision, things will not
Hmm. You have to do
happen. So,
things
I
on your
think,
own.
yeah, we have to learn a lot of things on our own. So, I think with grief, that kind of grief of losing the comfort or losing the privileges and the luxury of just staying home and just existing, and everything else will happen. You just have to show up. I think we had to learn that. I think that realization came, that responsibility came. We also come from a lot of privilege that we never even had to learn these basic life skills, like not knowing how to how to use a washing machine at 18 is is disappointing. Is how is that possible? Not knowing how much Vim bar to use, or not knowing how much to pay for fruits, or how much to pay for vegetables, or I didn't even know how much a singular egg would cost. I think all of that I had to learn because I was responsible for myself. If I had to keep myself healthy, I would have to eat well. So I think with that came a lot of this responsibility. And there was this other grief that Chandu and I were discussing the other day, that now we feel like we're guests in our own home. Like some days, sometimes I don't even know what room something is kept in, or like since my father is in the service and we have drivers, sometimes when I would go
There's a
out at
change.
there's a change, and there are people in my house that I don't recognize. Sometimes there's staff in my house that I don't recognize, or sometimes like when I come back to Bhopal after a period of time, there are new cafes and new places, and there's just so much change happening. And sometimes I just feel like maybe like am I growing out of the city, or am I losing touch, or what is happening? That uncertainty is very weird
Very,
sometimes.
very interesting point that you have brought about. Do you now feel like I think for Akshar it's still very early, but do you now feel that you have transitioned into a new life? Like Bhopal is now and will in the future will always be something that you come back to, but it is not your life anymore. You have moved on and you have a new life now.
Like what I feel is I've moved on. Like I do all my things, new friends, new people. Things are back here, but it will be like a
Comfort place,
comfort
cushion.
place, not like it's not home. It's like it's
Right.
it is a different place now.
It's a comfort place, I feel. And what about you, Alia? You have been out for 3 years now, almost like 2.5 years.
Hmm. I think Bhopal. Now, when I talk about Bhopal, I say my parents stay in Bhopal, but I stay in Delhi. Like for
Yeah.
me, now Bhopal is my parents' home. Now it's not my home anymore, because since I have my own life in my hostel and I live in Delhi and I'm more
We
comfortable.
don't live there anymore.
Yeah, we don't live here anymore. I think that is that is something to process. That sometimes when I come back, I'm made to feel like a guest. Like my mom would ask me, whatever you want to eat, jo khana hai ban jayega. Like sometimes it's a little weird to feel that way, that I'm being treated like a guest. Ki, acha, since I'm here, keema banega, biryani banega. Like earlier, it would just be like, ye bana hai, you have to eat this. Now you don't have any other option. Like sometimes I miss that treatment.
So,
Like being
yeah, go
normal
ahead.
is a special thing now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Everything being normal is the special treatment. नहीं मिलता भी.
Hmm.
So,
And
I mean,
now
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And now one more thing is, now Chandu and I also, like, a lot of people talk about long distance relationships in general, but I don't think people talk a lot about like long distance relationships between siblings. Like
Yeah,
sometimes I
yeah.
feel so out of touch with his life, and sometimes I don't know what he's doing, or sometimes he doesn't know where I am, what I'm doing, and day to day to hota hi nahi hai, but even major events, sometimes I forget to tell him, or sometimes he forgets to tell me, and it just feels a little disconnected at times. Like when we meet, everything is fine, everything is perfect. Like today also, we took a long walk, we talked about everything. But when we are physically not there, or we're just not keeping in touch through calls and texts, it just feels a little weird that this is the person that I grew up with, and now I don't I don't know what is happening with them. Now they're their own
That sense
person.
of connection is not there anymore.
Is there sometimes a sense of betrayal also when like you call your parents and they're like, we are at the movies, we'll talk to you later? Or when you call your brother, or when you call your sister and she's like, कि मैं अभी busy हूँ, I'll talk to you later. Is there a sense of betrayal that, this person who was living with me till a year back or 2 years back, now they don't have time for me?
Do you feel that?
Like what I feel is now they have a life of their own, so they might be doing different things, and like telling everything every time is not possible. But yeah, sometimes feel like they should have told me that they're going out. They should have Even I do that to Mama Papa. They tell me that you should update us what you're doing.
Mm.
And yeah, that's the thing.
I think, yeah, I don't feel a sense of betrayal. It just feels like
Mm.
I'm not a part of that primary group anymore.
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
if
Yeah.
something was to happen, I would earlier, if something was to happen in Chandu's life, something were to happen in Chandu's life, he would come up to me and be like, Junu, pata hai aaj kya hua? Like, you know what happened the other day? He would, now I don't think I'm that person anymore. I think
Yeah.
after he's told everyone in his close circle and his college
Mm.
friends and his other friends, and then I feel like then he would come up to me. So that feels a little different. Like you come to terms with the fact that then maybe their priorities have shifted, and
Yeah.
it's I don't think it's like a betrayal, but it's a bittersweet realization.
Uh,
Yeah. Maybe
but
another
in the sense that
realization which I think both of you will attest to is that when you think about going to movies with your friends and enjoying restaurants with friends when you're in college, after a few years into college, you realize that you now miss going to movies with your parents or with your siblings or going to eating out, going for eating out with your parents. Is that true?
yes.
I think that is very true. Not having to split every single thing, every single fare, just going to a place and just enjoying. I think that is
Mm.
something. And going out with our parents, uh, I
Mm.
think we used to take it for granted
Uh,
earlier. We used to see it as, अरे यार अब जाना पड़ेगा. Sometimes, not all the time, but if there was a choice between going out with my friends or going out with my parents, I think if I was younger, I would probably choose going out with my friends. But now that I've been in college for 2.5 years, 3 years now, I think I think now I actually value how important it is to spend time with our parents and how much more than we need it. Sometimes you realize that how much they need it also, how much they miss
mm.
us also. So that is something.
I would also want to know from both of you individually, what was the immediate feeling when you joined college? What was the immediate feeling of grief that you had? What was that thought when you realized कि, oh, something possibly has gone wrong or this is not how what I expected? What was that immediate thing that you felt?
Super.
Mm. Mm.
I think for me, I felt like I was all I personally feel like I've always been the favorite, even if I was in school or wherever I was, even in college or since my mother and I we are very close and we do everything together, I always felt like I was the center of attention. And when I went to college, I just felt like a part of the crowd, and I felt very out of place. I felt like even if I disappeared from here, no one would care. Even if something were to happen to me, no one would care.
Mm.
So,
When I was at home, like I was the naughty one. So I there was a lot of monitoring and like things that you should do and not do. But after going to college, when you realize there is absolute freedom, like there is no monitoring. That felt hard. Like now
So
you have so much to lose.
does absolute, I'm sorry to cut you off, but does absolute freedom also makes one sad?
Yes, like you have so much to do, but you choose to do nothing. You have to
Mm.
study for your test. You have to do your things.
That's a
So.
very interesting thought. Yeah, you
Hmm.
have
you have to
so
make
much to
that
do and you end up
choice.
doing nothing eventually.
Uh, and
Mm.
that monitoring makes you feel that someone is attached to you, that they care so much about you, that they wish you'll do well.
Right.
That thing is not there.
So I have this
True.
theory, which I've just
Mhm.
created, that when you leave the house, there's a dip, there's this grief you experience, and then what all, hell that comes your way when you go to a hostel or college, there's another dip, right? And then there is some
True.
resurfacing when you find some friends,
True.
and then possibly when you realize that these friends will not compensate for what you have lost earlier, there's another dip.
That's another tip.
So
I think
how did you both of you cope with that?
I think uh, for the first time since when my entire childhood till the time I turned 13, my father was in a very powerful position. He was the collector. So I was always treated as the collector ki beti. Even when I was in school, I was always like, we had, Chandu and I always had that air around us, ki they're officers' children and all of that. But in college, for the first time, people, and in school, this used to happen a lot. The people were friends with us because they wanted to get some work done or something, or some ulterior motives used to be there. Not always, not in all our friendships. But when we went to college, especially for me, it was just like people were friends with me because of the person that I am, not because I'm a certain someone's daughter or I come from a background or they need some help. Or just people were genuinely friends with me because they wanted to be friends with me or they liked something about me. Or I think that was a very interesting realization. And I think, as you said, the dip comes when you're faced with the reality of college and then more hell, and then you find some friends. I think I also found my group of friends, my primary group, and earlier it was a big group, and then eventually semester by semester it became smaller and smaller, and now we are the four of us are there. But I think that really helps having a support system, having some people that you can just come back to, having a group of friends that they'll just come to your room, you'll just sit with some snacks and some coke, and just you can just talk about everything under the sun, and just no judgment, no no pretenses. You can just be yourself. So I think finding that, making a sort of safe space for yourself, I think that really helps. Having a group of people that you can just confide in, you can just speak your mind, they can just have access to your constant stream of thoughts, and you'll fight with the same people, you'll make up with the same people, you're going out with them, you're just going on trips. And I think that becomes your primary support system rather than your family. That used to be your support system when you're back home.
Like it becomes a second family
Yeah, truly.
that the friend group you have. And I'm quite new. Like I recently went to college, so I don't have much to speak about this. But yeah, there is dips and there is rise. But I think it eventually becomes like a straight line because there is so much going up, so much going down. But it's not like sad, sad, but there is some happiness, there's some sadness. It goes on.
Right. And uh, also, like, this is for Akshar because you are a very social person
Uh,
since school, since childhood, which I know of. How was the loss of childhood? Like, loss of childhood, including the loss of childhood friends. Like, now you come back,
mm,
you do spend some time with them possibly, but then you have a new set of friends now. These are
um,
old timer friends. Like, what is that transition like? How do you deal
like
with that in your mind? Do you even think about that, or it,
mm,
yeah,
when I came here in 2017, I have friends till then. So like it is a major part of my childhood. And that friendship is also an investment, the investment of time we spend together. So I obviously miss them because I've invested so much time, like so much
Effort, energy.
effort. We have built that friendship. So I obviously feel that gap because we have to meet new people, new friends we make, but we get to know new people. What do they think? And this your childhood friends won't judge you, but like you have here, you have to make certain friends, certain people
yeah.
like whom they'll help you. Hmm.
I also wanted to ask you one thing. How was it for you when I left for college? So
Uh,
you were
Yeah,
there
that's a
at
good
home
question.
alone.
That's
So
a
how
very
was
good
that
question.
grief? Like, how was it when I left for college and you were at home? So you were the only kid at home.
uh,
Because ever since you were born, you don't know what it is to live life
uh,
without me. You've had my presence, my daunting presence.
so like it was weird being the
I think
single
पहले
child
तो you would
because
have been overjoyed with that thought ना कि अरे यार ये जाएगी तो the house is all mine. Like I will be the king of this house. Was that the anticipation of a
We used
sibling?
to have two single beds in my room. We used to have two single beds in my room. The first thing he did was he joined those two single beds and he made a king size bed for himself.
But how
So I
was
think
it
he was
like in
like
reality? What was
it
the
was a
feeling?
weird feeling. All attention came to me like
So much attention.
Like it was weird. At times I felt like, where is Jaanu? Then I used to remember, oh, she went to college just after some weeks she left home. And like my major part was like we used to talk something before the bed. We used to like sometimes we had a good conversation, sometimes fight. Like she used to wake me up for the school. So like it was there was you I used to feel that there is something missing.
Right.
Interesting.
And moving on from that, I think the other question I have is when you are reaching college, 100 other kids are also reaching college. They are bringing their grief of leaving home with them. How is that? How do you deal with that chaos? Because in front, everybody is behaving nicely, but individually, everybody is going through that pain, right? Of leaving home, of losing, like leaving parents back at home or a sibling back at home. Did you ever feel that when you were just 1 or 2 months fresh into college? Did you feel that thing कि यार इन लोग भी पेन में हैं, इन लोग भी मिस कर रहे हैं घर में? Did you feel that?
I think, I think that is something that we see. I think more with my hostel friends, not that much with my college friends, since I only meet them between classes. And so with my college friends, maybe that relationship or that kind of connection is not there. We talk about what we feel or what's going on back home. But I can talk about my hostel friends, the ones that I live with or my roommate. And I think you realize that everyone brings their own grief, and you also realize that everyone has a different relationship with their family. I think I'm
Yeah,
someone, I, my mother and I, we do a 45 minute video call every day, like after dinner, and that is my routine. But for some people, maybe it's a 5 minute call once in a week. For some people, it's a 10 minute call every day. So I think you see that, and I think everyone deals with that grief differently. I have friends that live nearby, that live near Delhi, like in places like Chandigarh. So they go back almost every other weekend. For them, it's possible. But I also have other friends, like I have a friend who's from the Northeast, and she goes back home once in a semester, or sometimes once in 7 months, or once in 6 months. And that doesn't mean that someone is grieving less or grieving more. I just think it's very subjective, obviously,
Hmm.
as all grief is. But everyone deals with it differently. And I think for some people, it is more like this. Now what can we do now that we're in college? Now we can't keep going back again and again. Like I'm someone that comes back almost every, you see me almost every other month. I'm here for, even if there's a small event, I come back because I
yeah,
can. Maybe I come from that kind of background. But I
yeah.
think how I deal with it is I think about the next possible chance of seeing my family again. I think, okay, okay, I've met them and now I'm going back. Like I'm going back tomorrow. So I think about when I'm going to see them next. Like my cousin's getting married in Feb. So I just think that, oh, just one more month and I'll see my mom again. I think that's
Hmm.
how it works for me.
Like
So
the
basically,
grief.
you're making sure that
Mm.
your cup of family is always, there's slight family in that cup always. That cup is not empty at any point of time.
Not empty at any point of time.
Yeah,
Or it's never like I never know when I'm going to see them again. In my mind, I always know, okay,
makes
this
sense.
much time I have to spend all by myself and then I'll see them again.
Maybe that's a good strategy for many people to deal with it. If you know going to be 6 months, then you have that kind of a deadline or a timeline in your head, and then you reverse
Right
calculate,
at
and
the end
then
of the tunnel.
and if you know it is 6 days or every 15 days, then you deal with it that way. So maybe that's a good point that has come out. You were saying something, sure.
Like the grief of leaving home and coming to college is different for everyone. So you get to know some people are actually very sad and some people are actually very happy leaving their home. So it mixed environment gives you a comfort place because many people are sharing similar emotions with you.
Yeah.
It was
But I wanted to know, like, since I'm in a girls' college and I live in a women's hostel, I feel like me and my girls and all of us are a little more. I'm not generalizing, but this is what I have seen. I cannot speak for what it is like in a boys' hostel or in a boys' group. But for us, I feel like we are very vocal about our grief. If we are hurting, if we are going through pain, and if we are missing our families, like I'm someone, if I'm missing my mom too much, I would just, if I feel any emotional very intensely, I would just start crying. I think that is how I deal with it sometimes. I just let it out in my safe space, in front of my close people. But how do you? And how do you and your boys group, how do you
Like,
guys deal with it? Are you
I
guys
think
that vocal about it?
I have to give it to you that you're predicting the questions that I've planned for this podcast. Maybe that tells me that you are learning to be a good psychologist. Indulgence is what I was going to point to. So that is my next question. The question that I was leading into, which you predicted, is regarding indulgence. You know, that
hmm,
grief goes hand in hand with indulgence. It's very easy when you're sad. You know, you would have seen films and people have seen that, men or even women at times take to drinking, they become alcoholics, or they take to drugs, or they take to having serial, flings or relationships just to deal with the grief. This is a very peculiar scenario when it comes to getting into college because you're actually looking
Hmm.
forward to all those things. You're possibly going to drink the first time, you're possibly going to smoke the first time, you're possibly trying to experiment with illegal drugs for the first time, and you will possibly get into a relationship for the first time. So, do you think it's a potential chaotic bomb waiting to explode if not handled well? Because you're already having the grief of having left home. Like, what have your
I think
experiences been, and what have you seen in other peers around you?
I think the indulgence part is not because of the grief of leaving home, but I think sometimes it's to deal with the uh, to deal with all of the independence that one has, and sometimes there's just when you are not held accountable for things, when there's no one watching you, you just feel like maybe this is the time. And a lot of people use it as an excuse. Ki, now we are young, if we don't do this now, then when are we going to do this? I think a lot of people do that. Uh, but indulgence, specifically when it comes to drinking and smoking and relationships, situationships, all of that that we see around us, I think a lot of that is not because of the grief, but just because of the freedom or just because of so much independence that we get. I think as especially in a society like India, when there's like our parents are very directly involved in our lives and they know what we are doing, when we are sleeping, what we are eating, and then when you move away to another state or another city, when there's all of this independence and then you can just do whatever you want. I think sometimes the indulgence part comes with that, and then eventually when we go through our own like griefs up separate from moving away from home, I think then people take up all of these things to deal with that. What do you
Right.
think?
hmm. Like it is an active option if you want to indulge in something. It's something not related to grief, it's something related if you want to do, you want to try out something. Like many people do that to escape from particular situation.
But I think
Right.
indulging with smoking and drinking and
Hmm.
the illegal drugs, I think a lot of people do that. They start using it as a bargaining chip. Like, since I'm not
Hmm.
home for my birthday, or since I
Which is
can't,
not right.
which is not right,
Hmm.
obviously, but since, oh, thank you. Since we can't, since a lot of people like, since we can't go back, the least that we can do is this. Or since we can't
Yeah.
be at home for a particular occasion, might as well get something out of it, or might as well just do what feels right to me. I think a lot of people also do that.
How does social media tie into all of this? Like now, even if you're leaving home, you're not leaving. You can see your home every day if you wish for 24 hours over a WhatsApp or a video call. And at the same time, your parents or people at home can always, monitor you via social media or any kind of smartphone app or technology. Do you think that helps offset the loss of home, or it's nothing more than an irritant in your life?
I think it definitely helps in staying connected. I think I can still throughout the day. My day starts with my mom. Since she gets up before me, she sends me a good morning message. She sends us a good morning
Hmm.
message, and we get all these little updates about what's happening in the house, what's happening with our dog, and what does their day look like. So I think that's definitely a bonus.
It helps in staying connected, but there is nothing like uh, physical
Physically,
place.
yeah.
Right.
But I think it
And
definitely helps.
yeah, yeah. think so. And how does social media tie up into other side of this loss of home where you are in college? What is college today like? Like there are so many things happening online. Are you really experiencing college or campus life as it should be, or is it more online? They say that you're connected all the time, but you're disconnected from the world. Is it like that now?
I
Or
think
maybe you
I
both
think
are too young to realize that that's happening.
no, I think one thing that I'm noticing now is that like this is something that my mom tells me sometimes, that earlier people used to make memories and then take pictures of those memories. But
Yeah,
nowadays, what a lot of people are doing is uh, taking pictures to remember, to have a memory of a certain thing, like just
right.
dressing up just to take pictures and all of that. I think a lot of that is there, but I think I can speak for myself. Like since I'm in DU, I think I'm what my experience is of experiencing DU as a college or as a DU as a university is very similar to what the experience of someone who, let's say, passed out 10 years before me had, the going to certain spots or going to certain places after college or in college, or what attending classes. Like our college is not, my college, IP college, is not very technologically savvy. Like we don't have smart classes, and most of the classes it's just normal blackboard and chalk situation. So
Right.
I think we are experiencing college the way it is, like handwritten. We still have handwritten assignments. We still have handwritten tests, and the you I don't know how to explain, but I still feel like our college is very normal, very like the way it is supposed to be. I don't feel like it's something very different. Of course, a lot of it is glamorized. Like I will, if I were to post my day, what is going on, I would only post the good parts, not the bad parts.
Hmm.
Right.
Just the aesthetic, the picture perfect parts only. Yeah.
And what
Hmm.
about the cultural shift that you face? I think Akshar has faced it more because you are going into a completely different culture in
Hmm.
Hyderabad, although it is a metropolitan city. But majority of the people speak a language that you don't, usually speak in Madhya Pradesh. And then the food and the way people do things is very different. So what has been your experience? कैसा लगता है
Like
किसी और कल्चर में जाके? मुझे बहुत अजीब लगा था when I moved from Madhya Pradesh to Karnataka. I was like कि मैं कहाँ आ गया हूँ? And then I connected inevitably initially I connected with people जो मध्य प्रदेश या नॉर्थ से थे because it made me feel that comfort which I was missing out because of geography.
Hmm.
So is it like do you feel that kind of a thing? Is
Through
that some
social
kind of an
media,
offset?
through social media, I get to know like what all is happening, how's the competition around in this particular software field AI. But also the cultural shift is also there. Like people in Hyderabad are more work centric. They need to get their work done. Like they're more fast moving than here. And here people more give more importance to human connections, but there they give more importance to work, I think. So it is a
Hmm.
cultural shift which I have experienced in a metro city. I'm
Right.
shifting from here.
Do you feel a language barrier?
Like in the beginning, because I didn't used to speak that much Telugu at home,
Mm.
but after going there, all my friends, many of my teachers, when they speak Telugu, I'm starting to pick it up.
Right. And what about you, Alia? You have moved
Me,
to Delhi as a girl. What is that experience like?
I think I've lived a very sheltered, a very protected life. I think with drivers and guards and didis and bhaiyas following us everywhere. So I've always had that, like, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? Probably is like I stay out past my curfew or my parents get mad at me. I think that's the worst case scenario of what would happen. But now when I live in Delhi and sometimes I have to travel on my own, I have to, like, when I come back, I have to travel on my own. And even in Delhi, if I have to go for my personal work, and I usually try to take a friend with me, but if no one's free, then I have to travel on my own.
Yeah.
So I think I always have, like, the worst thing that can happen to me. Like there's a lot of worst case possible scenarios that can happen with me. So I think that I have that in back of my mind always. Uh, I I am also in a girls' college, in a girls' hostel, so I feel like that is a very safe space for me. Like I know that okay, here I can express myself. I can be the person that I want to be. I don't have to act a certain way or be a certain way to avoid danger. I can just
Right.
like if I'm alone and I'm taking an auto, I try not to bargain a lot also. So just so that I don't take something wrong off in the other person's mind, or if
Mm.
when I'm in my college, I can wear whatever I want. But if I'm traveling, if I'm just going to cross the road, also my college, I have to cross the road and then go to my hostel. So I make sure that
Right.
I either have an overshirt with me or I make sure that I'm crossing with someone else. I'm not on my own. I think the the idea that anyone can harm you for no reason, no fault of your own is uh, very daunting. The idea that just because I belong to a certain gender, I could be part of the target population of someone, of a molester, or of a
Mm.
rapist, or I think all of that is just because I
Yeah.
belong to a certain gender. I think that is a very
And
scary
and
thing to think.
and that brings me to another thought that, is loss of home, which we are calling this of moving out of home, is loss of home a right of entry into a gain of adulthood? Like, is the loss of home the gain of adulthood? Do you think
Mm.
that's how you feel now?
As far
Because
as
all of these issues that you have realized are basically shaping you up into an adult because now you have these issues in your vicinity. You realize, oh, these are real issues.
like in last 6 7 months, I've understood like about spending in a certain budget,
Yeah,
managing things, maintaining things, and carefully spending. That does teach a lot in home. Like there is no per month budget or something,
yeah.
but here you have to calculate everything. You have to manage everything, like your studies, your classes, are you, how much is your attendance and everything. So this everything makes you more mature.
Yeah. Hmm. And how has your relation with your parents now changed after having moved out? For you, it's been 5 6 months, Akshar, and for Alia, it's been almost 2.5 3 years now. How has that relation changed?
I think now now I don't have that teenage angst anymore. I feel like I'm not very rebellious anymore. Now I'm in a place where I understand why my mother is saying what she's saying. Earlier, I used to feel like maybe she just doesn't want me to have a good time. Maybe you have that feeling that everyone is against you, or my parents are against me having a good time, or against me or spending time with my friends, against me having certain things in my life. But now, when my mother says no for a certain thing, I understand where it is coming from. I don't try to, my first thought is not to immediately fight it, but to understand it. Why is she saying what she's saying, or why does she want me to be in a certain way? Why does she expect a certain thing? Why does she expect certain things from me? So I think that is something that has changed. And I think it has made me realize that the time that we spend with our parents is so important. I think the time that I spend with my sibling is also so important. I think the way I see it is I'll probably see my friends more often than I'll see my parents or than I'll see Chandu. So I try to make the most out of it. I try to if I have an option of just staying at home or going out, I prefer to stay at home, even if
Hmm.
even if it is staying at home and doing nothing with my family rather
Yeah,
than doing something super fun and adventurous with my friends. So yeah.
no, makes sense. Uh, what can parents do for children who are moving out of home? Like, what did you expect? Like, I know both of you have had a lot of support from home when you have moved out.
Hmm.
But what is that support that you would have seen in your friends or peers who joined college? और इवन यू माइट हैव फेल्ट कि यार ये ऐसा होता तो और बेटर होता अगर पेरेंट्स ऐसा करते तो और अच्छा होता.
I think for me, I feel like my mom is, my parents are more at peace now. Now that they feel like they are kept in loop of what is happening. They don't feel like initially, maybe if I was not updating them a lot, they would get
Hmm.
anxious
Anxious.
that what is happening? Why is she not taking my calls? But if I let them know, okay, today I'll not be able to call you before 10 because I'm going out with my friends. I'll call you after 10. I think a simple message or a simple voice note, just letting them know that you are not free right now, but that does not mean that you are unsafe or you are not available to them right now.
Hmm.
Just letting them know, just keeping them in loop.
Hmm.
They don't have to feel like they're missing out on something, or they don't have to
Hmm.
feel like they don't have control anymore, or they should not feel like they're not, they don't know what is
Hmm.
happening
It's
with the
also
child.
it's also your responsibility to make them comfortable and feel that you're all right, because it is equivalent
It's
that
equally difficult for
equally
them. So
difficult for
yeah,
them. So you also have to keep them updated.
Hmm.
true. I
No,
think a
but you both
simple
are
call
very
and
you
text.
you you both are very mature children, so you're speaking from the child's point of view. I want to know what should the parents do better so that you
Hmm.
feel more comforted when you are in a new environment, because parents are in their own home, in their comfort
True,
environment. They are used to their schedules and careers. You are moving
true.
out. What should parents be aware of for the initial few months to deal with a child who has moved out of home?
Like many parents are really anxious, like what will happen, but when a child goes to college, they're mature enough, so they'll figure out themselves at what they have to manage, what they have to handle, and eventually they are comfortable at their own pace, own what they're doing. So parents can actually be less anxious, less tensed about what their children is doing. Are they all right? You just have to be there, and everything will be all right. I think.
I think a lot of parents also have this feeling that uh, maybe the child is going to do something that they don't want, or maybe the child is going to put themselves in an unsafe position. I think the parents also need to understand that, okay, now the child is out of home. Now they are going to have, it's not like
Right.
every child is going to be perfect. They'll make their own set of mistakes. I think that sometimes you have to learn certain things firsthand only. So they
Yeah.
also have to understand you cannot prepare them for every possible thing. Sometimes you just have to let them make their own mistakes and just let them be and just let them understand things via their own experience. You cannot prepare them for everything. You cannot also expect them to, like, even if the child is updating them, the child cannot possibly update them about every single thing. So
Yeah.
rather than feeling that the child is hiding things or disconnecting, they can approach it from a way that, okay, the
Hmm.
child is also an individual, the child is also an adult now, since both of us are over 18. Child is also an adult. Maybe the child just wants to explain things or just wants to disclose certain things at their own time and pace. Maybe not everything then and there, when they get the time or when they feel like they're comfortable in a place to do that. Yeah.
No, true. I think what I have learned having raised a younger brother through late school and then college is that eventually, as a parent or a caretaker, you're only concerned about first, primarily, the physical safety of your child, right? They should
True.
be physically secure. That is the first thing you want to ensure. And if that is ensured day in, day out, half my worry is gone. The second thing I need to ensure, or in my mind I have to ensure, is emotional security of the child. Are they feel and
Like
welcoming life?
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you go up that hierarchy, you have to feel physically and then mentally okay. And then
True.
comes career and how well they are doing in studies, etc., etc. I would want most people listening, and if parents are listening, to realize that this is actually what you also care about. Our care comes out in very different ways कि marks क्यों नहीं आ रहे, पढ़ाई क्यों नहीं कर रहे, but what eventually you care about is the child should be okay physically and
Mhm.
emotionally, and then comes career and all other things. So I
True,
think that
true,
is a
true.
very important thing that has come out of me having raised a younger brother. And maybe that's what you would have also told parents, if you get to tell parents कि क्या करना चाहिए. One of my last questions is, what is home now for both of you?
I think home is where the heart is. I think if all of us are together, if I'm with my family, even if sometimes all of us meet together in Delhi, or sometimes Chandu, like he came to Delhi for Raksha Bandhan, or if I go back to Hyderabad, or if all of us are in Bhopal. So I think for me, home is no longer a place or a building, or this is home.
It's four people together.
Yeah, it's all of us being
Yeah.
together, all of us just spending time with each other, just talking about the same things again and again, and just being there for each other rather than being in a certain place. Because since we are service kids and we've moved around a lot, we never associated the idea of home being a place rather than it being like a group of people. So now we see home as a group of people rather than a place. What about you?
Like for me, obviously, it's a different place now. It feels like you don't give that much importance when you're at home, but when you're when you're away from the home, you get to know the importance of good food, like people who
Hmm.
actually uh, think about you. They don't have any materialistic requirements from you. It is coming from a place of love. So that place, that sense of uh, feeling that comes that, oh, this is a really good place. When you get to realize that, it becomes a really great place.
What is home for you?
Home for me is basically where I feel connected to people I'm living with, like I earlier I was very used to living alone, especially since college. Then I was working a while and then I was preparing, and all of this time I was alone. I've even lived in houses that are 5-room duplexes, living alone at night, and I was okay with it. But now, lately, in the last few years, I have come to realize that true happiness, or true contentment also, it comes when you're sharing the place you're living at with somebody. It could be a
Hmm.
pet, it could be your partner, it could be your brother or sister. That eventually makes it home. Otherwise, you're just living in a house, right?
Where mundane things also bring you joy. Just the
Yeah, just
joy of
sitting
just
together.
eating a meal with some people or just sitting
Yeah.
together.
You could just be sitting together reading your own books, and that itself is so much of comfort that I
Hmm.
have very lately realized. Uh,
Hmm. You have to filter things out. You don't have to
yeah,
think what you're saying, or you can just be your truest self, your worst possible or your most vulnerable self, and you know that the other people around you are just going to be okay with it.
absolutely. And I think in this, coming back to leaving home, I think it's always good to have a mentor also, rather than there should be a mediation between parents and friends. There has to be somebody who has seen that cycle, and you can always reach out to them for a third party guidance. I had people who were 5, 6 years older to me when I entered
Like
college who were very close to
We
me.
have you and Tanu here.
Yeah,
we
hopefully.
have
I
you
mean, that's very important because there are certain things you can't talk to friends about. There are
True.
certain things you can't talk to parents about. And then in this Venn diagram, there are certain things you can't talk to both about. Right. So
Hmm.
if you have somebody who's just slightly ahead of you, has seen that cycle of what you're going through, I think that helps out a lot. You
Complete. I
always
think
have a course corrector who can keep nudging you in the right direction, not pulling you like friends or not pushing you like parents.
you know that
Uh,
they're going to there if you make a mistake before like telling your parents, you just want to get it screened through
yeah,
some
yeah,
responsible adult first, just to see if there's
yes,
any other option that we can take, or if there's anything that we can do before like letting the parents know. Because once you tell something to your parents, they're obviously going to worry about it. So you want
yeah,
to take that additional worry away from them and just make sure that it passes through someone who's maybe been through a similar situation or who maybe understands where we are coming from. who doesn't see it very black and white, like doesn't see it from a parent's view or a child's point of view, just somewhere
Yeah.
in between. I think that is very important, truly.
And I would like to end this podcast, uh, which is based on a loss that comes from anticipation, anxiety, sadness, excitement, uniqueness of it all, on the word that you used very early on, and I have been thinking on this for the past few months. You called the subtraction of family from your life is what you feel, right? What I have eventually come to realize is life as a concept is subtraction. You are
Hmm.
born and then you are running towards your death, and slowly things are being subtracted from your life.
Truly, truly.
Earlier, it will be youth that is subtracted. So when you pass through your 20s, you'll subtract the youth. Then you'll subtract family. Slowly, your parents will go away. Then your friends will go away. Then your health will go away. And these subtractions keep on happening, right? Uh,
Truly.
the way to be okay with these subtractions is you make things around you greater than those subtractions. You add
True.
many things into your life as you go forward so that the subtractions are offset with a profit. You have something extra that makes your life meaningful. And as you said,
Truly.
that when you're leaving home, that's a permanent loss. It will never be the same. The childhood will never
Hmm.
be the same. But then you add on mentors, you add on friends, you add on habits, hobbies, you add on a career later on. And
Hmm.
that's what eventually, comes around to take care of you, having subtracted this
True.
part of your life uh, while going to college. So I think that's my last word for the podcast. And you both have been very patient for kids your age to sit through
Thank
this
you.
long, I don't know, 1.5, 2 hour ordeal of having to talk to a, a guy who is 12, 15 years older to you on topics that are very difficult and boring. But I think,
Thank you for giving us the space to talk about all of this. I think, especially both of these griefs, I don't think these kinds of grieving that we never sat down and talked about it. So I think afterwards we are also going to have our own realizations and
That
a
many
lot of
people
things.
won't get to talk about many such griefs.
yeah.
So
And I
it's
think
good.
since most of your friends would be watching this, hopefully, uh, uh, all the people who are in your age group, the early 20s, late teens, uh, have to realize that this is a big event. Leaving home
Truly,
is a big event. But like every other event, you can plan for it. You can
you
talk to
can.
your siblings, you talk to your parents, you can discuss with them that what would we do once I'm out of the house? What would you feel like when I'm out of the house? What are the timings we will talk every day? That certainty in this
Hmm.
chaotic shift that is happening is something that keeps people sane, right? I
That
think
does
you
not
both
ensure
would.
that it will not hurt, but I think it would
Yeah.
just ensure that you are able to manage. You don't feel like the things are getting out of control. It still means that it will hurt and it is still a difficult
Hmm.
process, but you
Yeah.
can manage it. It just helps you manage it better internally and externally. Yeah. So,
All right then.
chalo.
So we'll end it here. And
Thank you.
That
Thank you,
you
Bhaiya.
are, thank you so much. And you have been very, very kind to, spend so much time on this podcast. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.